Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a beautiful Wednesday in Calgary, Alberta. My name is Jade Alberts, and I'm a small business strategist influencer, and my passion is helping small businesses grow and succeed. I started this Telling It Like It Is show to share knowledge with fellow entrepreneurs, fellow small businesses, fellow solopreneurs, and it has been wildly successful, and it has created a nice little community for us. If you have any questions during the broadcast, please ask. Kim and I will answer them. If it is after the fact, we will also answer them when we post it on some of our social media platforms. I'd also like to thank Rogers Insurance for sponsoring this. Rogers Insurance supplies a human approach to insurance. I highly recommend giving them a call. I've been a client for 16 years since I've moved to Alberta, and they are absolutely outstanding. So that being said, today's Telling It Like It Is guest is Kimberly Wieting from Gritt Media. Kim, thank you for joining, and how are you today?
My pleasure. I'm great. Thanks, Jade.
You know, I was thinking about my Christmas theme and where I'm going to do, and our tree's downstairs. And now I'm like, oh, like you've got your tree behind you. You're ahead of the game. I'm so jealous.
Well, you know what? I went from zero to hero. I started out with a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Like, I'm not even kidding. It's an actual Charlie Brown Christmas tree with the 3 balls and stuff. And then Chris bought me a 12-foot tree.
Woo, look at that.
There's a squirrel on the very top just because I thought it was very fitting.
Oh, that's an awesome tree. A 12-foot tree is, I used to have them as a kid, and I would love to have a 12-foot tree again.
Oh, I feel it's a bit ridiculous, but in an awesome way.
Yeah, no doubt. An awesome way is a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
So I'll give a brief little intro here of Kim, and then we'll dive right in. So Kim is from Drayton Valley, and she moved to Calgary to attend the Alberta College of Arts and Design and received a bachelor's in design in 2002. She worked for a few companies before diving into the world of entrepreneurship in 2006. Kim has many long-term clients like Canalta, City of Calgary, Brookfield, and many others. I mean, Kim and I met when we owned the rights to Nathan's Famous Hot Dogs in Canada, and she helped us grow our brand across Canada. And it was a wonderful relationship. She was instrumental in helping us and actually almost acting as a mentor to me in certain ways. She's one of the most honest and authentic people I know, and we still collaborate on projects. So that being said, Kim, how and why did you start Gritt Media? What made you want to go into that world of entrepreneurship, and what were some of your struggles in the beginning?
Gosh, you know what? Just trying to think back how it all kind of started to out. I want to say it first started out with painting before it got into design, because I always had full-time design jobs.
Yeah.
And then I had a friend that's like, oh, your illustrations are so gritty. Like, have you ever thought about doing like big paintings in that style? I was like, no. So then I started doing that, and then started having art shows. And then I was like, well, I should really have a company to put all this under. And then what am I going to call myself? Well, people would always say my work was kind of gritty. And then also there's like thinking about the word grit, which is kind of awesome as well. But yeah, so I started out that way. So it was more for fun, and then no harm. When you're starting out, you're getting pretty base salaries. So having extra work is always an awesome idea. So I just started growing very slowly. Probably in 2004 is when Gritt really originally started. But I went into sole proprietor 2008. I want to say, and then incorporated like 2000 and I don't know, 10. Sorry, I'm like gapped out. I was like, oh, let's do that. But yeah. Anyway, it's been great. I love it.
So I guess what were some of your struggles, like finding new clients, or was it able, like when you said that you had you had a little steady stream of income from some of your your work that companies you were working with, and then you just said, you know what? This is a good opportunity. I can really turn this into a career. What was that turning point that said, boom, here I go?
So I think I've been very fortunate, and I've never had to actually go and look for work. I've always had work kind of fall onto my plate just randomly through friends. And I think it's just because of knowing a lot of people, like, oh, I know a graphic designer. Oh, go talk to Kim. And so things kind of spread out that way, because then I'd work for one person, then that person would tell someone else, and blah, blah, blah. But when it got to the point where I was like, no, I want to do this full time, 100% entrepreneur, would have been 2008. And I got headhunted by the City of Calgary to go work in-house for them. And you had to have your own company to do that. So I was like, okay, But then once I got in there, I was like, I think I just want to do this forever and not even work full time for the city.
Yeah.
So I want to say it was after a year or two with the city, I ended up just working from home, and I found the clients just, it exploded. It was just very fortunate.
Oh no, that's good. And as you said, I mean, I stress on this all the time. And one of the reasons I started, or YYC Founders Coffee is networking. I mean, the amount of leads that you get just from networking is unbelievable. Now, you mentioned, you were lucky enough to kind of have a steady flow of work come in. So I guess in today's world, content is king and everybody's focusing on that. So how do you keep things fresh for your new clients and your current clients?
I think you just have to stay really relevant and very up with the times. Like I'm trying to keep on top of music and TV and movies and current culture and the news. And I feel like if you really have a sense for what's going on in the world and what's potentially coming up, then you can be a little bit more relevant for the clients that you're working for and figure out what that voice is to relate what you think is future focused, like what will help them get attention or be able to speak their brand with strength. But I think just kind of being, I want to say in the know, because I'm not in the know, but just being aware,
Yes, very true.
Yeah.
I mean, staying up to date on whatever the current trends are is very important. And I know you and I have attended conferences together, and to do that, and I highly recommend anybody, whether it's a cult gathering, whether it's a social school, or just around the Calgary area, or you can head out if you want to make a little road trip of it. But it is very important to do that. That's a very valid point. So I guess in the sometimes my clients, and I'm sure the same thing is with your clients, they'll have an idea and they'll just say, oh yeah, this is what we want to do, this is great. Or even sometimes the content that I create, they're not as excited about. So how do you talk to them when maybe their ideas aren't as you're not as excited as their ideas, and it might not be the right idea? How do you tell them that? What type of process do you take?
Well, there's a few, so let's just see how I can structure this. So there's a few ways. I have a theory where there's only certain things that are worth dying over. And sometimes the client is right. If it's something smaller that's not a really massive thing and they really feel passionate about it, I can always suggest. Usually what I do is I'll mock up what their idea is, but then I also give 2 other ideas and explain why I think that this would work as well. And then hopefully they see that it is something that is better.
Yeah.
But I also have learned that, if it's something really crucial and really important, then absolutely fight for it, try to explain, if there's a bit of a pushback, well, no, we don't feel comfortable. Well, I'll explain more. But if it's something fairly small and simple, sometimes I just let things go because it's not worth, because you have to respect the other person's ideas as well. Do you know Absolutely. What I mean? Even though from a design perspective or a creative perspective, maybe it's not the best idea. So I guess my suggestion is always to give more options, but always include that original idea, because you need to validate the people's thoughts and ideas as well.
Oh, absolutely. I'd agree. I mean, I know on my end, sometimes honesty is the best policy, and you come out and tell them, and that sharing a couple other options is a great solution. I mean, and a lot of times, I do that as well, and sometimes it's more than 2 options, and I'll say, well, I have this, and I actually lay out an entire plan for them and how to launch it and how to.
Yes.
And how we're going to spin off this, because, once this idea is done, we need a next idea and a next campaign. Yeah. And, this is how it's going to work into 1, into 2, into 3, and, almost a year or 2, planning out. So I like getting them thinking of the big picture and not just that one idea.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes it can be siloed.
Oh, absolutely. And I find that, right. They have one good idea. They'll have one good idea, and it could be a very good idea, but then they're, once that campaign is done, it's like, now what? Yeah,
very short-sighted. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's with a project right now where it kind of feels like, a campaign. It's like you need to really put a lot of thought into things and give things legs. So you're like, okay, your idea is great, but if we do this, it could continue for years. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? So that sort of thinking.
Yeah, and that's why you bring in an expert.
Yeah, exactly.
So, so I guess now, I mean, you've been a long time successful entrepreneur, and again, I mean, I know I'm really excited. You and I are going to be collaborating on another client, which I'm extremely pumped about. So, how do you? I mean, I know how I find my, I guess, called so-called work-life balance, if that's a term that you want to use with your, your current workload, and being able to make sure that, hey, I know you're very active. I know you have a motorbike. You like to board and travel. So how do you find time to do everything?
I just squish it all in. I look back and I'm like, how did I do all of that? But I find in a day, you have a lot of hours,
Oh
and
yes.
it's all in how you choose to use them. So let's say you have a typical 8 hour day of work, which is like, okay, 8 to 10 hours. Oh, it's pushing it. Maybe it's 12, but you still find time to go for a walk, go get lunch, ride the motorbike somewhere, family, friends. It's a delicate balance, and it's definitely not easy. Like, I don't have the answer to it. I wish I did. But I want to say it's one of the toughest things for a lot of entrepreneurs, because it's your work is almost your life, because it's your baby, and you're constantly, it's you. So it's hard to just walk away from it. And at the end of the day, because you're always on it, you're always thinking about things. So yeah,
Oh,
it's tough.
absolutely.
It's tough. I wish I had the answer. I don't have the answer. I'm still looking into that. Maybe meditation helps. I don't know.
Well, I know you're very successful at it too, because I get to see some of your posts and things, and I mean, I know I have a, something that works for me and our family, and always say, work's a thing you do, not a place you go. So
Yeah.
there's times when I'm on vacation where I'm working and I'm doing things, and that's just the way it is. And I mean,
Yes.
thank you for my iPhone 10. I don't get the next one. I'll get the next one that comes out. But I mean, everything that you can do on there, and it is a tough balance. And I find balance, and sometimes I take my break during the day, and
Yeah.
obviously I'll have to sit down at night once the girls are in bed, and and hammer out a few hours watching a Flames game or something. But it is a very important thing. And I mean, entrepreneurs and even some of the clients that I work with, they have a hard time, doing that. They have a hard time stepping away from their job because they're wearing 7 or 8 hats, and they don't realize how it is affecting their life, their stress, their health, and so
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah. I find out what I do when mentioning vacations. I usually do a lot of working vacations, and I just find a time zone where when clients are sleeping, that's when I'm actually doing things that I enjoy, like on vacation. And then when they're awake, then I'm like, oh, then I'll start to do a bit of work. And it's actually a really great balance. And you're seeing the world, you're still making money, and, sustaining yourself, but it's very pleasurable.
I think that could be the best work-life balance tip I've ever heard. Travel into time zones where you're awake when we're sleeping. I like that.
And there's no stress, because you're like, oh my gosh, I could get back and work. And it's like, no, they're sleeping. It's all good. Just
Oh
be
no,
back.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I like that. I would say you should use that as your tip that rolls into the next question, but you can't because we've already talked about it. So, what I guess if you had one piece of advice, this is the question I ask, the last question I always ask all my entrepreneurs and small business owners. If you had one piece of advice, to someone starting up a business, or looking to expand, or just being in business, what would it be?
I want to say, just trying to think, I'm going to say keeping a positive mind frame.
Ah,
And a lot of people will have self-doubt, or when you're starting out, it's like, oh, will I make enough every month? Will I find the clients that I need? Will I? Maybe take out the will I and just know that you will.
yes.
And I think when you positively think about your position in life, things will kind of fall into place, and not to be fearful. Because being working for yourself, there can be that element of fear, because you're not getting that regular paycheck. But I think if you kind of take that portion out of your brain, this is how I think anyway. I've never really thought about, oh gosh, what's next month going to be like. I always just go, it's going to be gravy. It's going to be good. And I feel like it's just a positive mind frame is a huge thing to just keep in mind when you're doing this sort of work.
Oh, I agree, and that's a great comment. And I mean, it even works into a little bit of the work-life balance that we just touched
Yeah.
on, where it can be stressful. Where you know what, you maybe need to get away, you need to go to the gym, you need to go for a walk, you need during that time just to step away from your world and relax and refocus and be ready for whatever be the afternoon of your job. So no, that's a very great point, Kim.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down and share your story and share your knowledge with us. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jade.
I also would like to thank Rogers Insurance for sponsoring us. Again, if you go to rogersinsurance.ca/Jade, you are eligible for some discounts. Again, they supply the human approach to insurance. I highly recommend them. They are a great Canadian company that is headquartered here in Calgary, Alberta. Again, my name is Jade Alberts. I'm a small business strategist influencer. So if you need any questions, I'd love to sit down, have a coffee with you. Again, thank you, Kim, and I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.